Good evening, everyone. You're welcome tonight. This is Abe Adenigba, and I'm here tonight by the grace of God to have another session with you regarding the topic I've been dealing with. And I welcome you if you're watching me for the first time. I'm speaking from Shekinah Fellowship Ministry and from our other department of ministry, which is the practical aspect, the Shekinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurs, Leadership Growth, and individual personal development. Now, tonight, I want to continue on my topic on the awareness of the dark side. It's such a time that we need to look at those aspects of our life and personality so that we can bring some corrections, we can bring some amendment to our character, our attitude, so that it does not, destroy what we are building or, harm our relationship. Now, before I go into the depth of today, I want to remind you of our upcoming leadership and ministerial program. We're going to issue certificates and course notes, and so it requires that you register on www.shekinah institute.org. There is a fee involved, and we have slashed our fee into half just to have you and to bless you. We have a few people that are helping us to make sure that we provide this course at this time. So we've brought the cost down to a 50%. So go to our website and register so that we can have your names, your group for logistics reasons. So please, I want to urge you that we need to have your commitment. So I will really look forward to receive you at our annual leadership and ministerial program. Now, many other information will be shared to you much later. But I want to deal with our subject of tonight, which is about dark side. The dark side is such the negative aspect of our personality. The dark side is that flaws of anyone, and it can be conquered. But the most importantly, that you are aware of the dark side. Dark side ranges from being a narcissistic person. Maybe you have passive aggression. You are arrogant and abusive, verbally and physically. Your reaction to certain things can be so destructive. And so we need to be aware of this dark side. Dark side is such area of your life that, makes people uncomfortable, even makes yourself uncomfortable. But we have identified that the excessive energy, strength of an individual may work well for them, but at the same time, it can be their dark side. And so we have been looking at certain traits of the dark side, whereby it becomes, a point of weakness. It becomes a point whereby, it destructs a transformational process. And so you can bring your energy in, but your energy, which is good, which drives a process successfully, can as well become a negative energy that actually harm a process or destruct a process. So, and that is why I have been talking about this. Maybe you are such person who bullies people, or you do not recognize the impact of the lesser ones, and so they see you in a different with a different picture. And so you need to be aware of your behaviors that is destructive or subversive. So that is why I've been talking about this. And there is one of the leadership contributor by the name A.B. Bruce. I like what he said, and I've been using that. He said, A.B. Bruce, he said, one who knows his weaknesses may become strong even at the weak point. But he who knows not his weak point cannot be strong at any point. And so becoming aware of your weak point or your weaknesses helps you to become stronger at the weak point. At the instance of the trigger, you become much stronger and you overcome that which may be your dark side. So last week I mentioned about a dark side that disrupts the transformational leadership process, whereby you are the one leading the transformation, but your dark side may harm the transformational process. And you need to be aware of this disruption because of your personality. Now, today we're going to look at another important trait of a dark side, and have actually concluded that it is a dark side, really, that it is a dark side because it creates a sort of unfriendly relationship, unfriendly interaction by what you exhibit. And that dark side today is pride. That pride is a dark side of a leader, of a personality, whoever you are, that you are not conscious of your response or reactions to people, your reactions to invitation, for example, that you're not conscious to it. Now, we're going to point it out tonight that it could be your dark side. It could be what you are not managing. You're not managing your pride. There's nothing wrong to have pride. Pride in yourself, pride in your faith, pride in your belief. It's acceptable. But pride in your interpersonal relationship needs to be checked. Now, we're going to see tonight that pride is a dark side. Since I began this series, I've taught on those personalities. But today, I want us to look at this dark side of personality that is common to all. Pride is that part of a leader or a famous personality that creates ill feelings, destructive, consciously and subconsciously. Because when we talk about pride, it's just the attitude of some individuals knowing fully well, aware that the way they carry themselves is the way they want to carry themselves above all others. And some others, maybe by the way of upbringing, subconsciously, they exhibit pride without knowing. But becoming aware of this, even though you've been conscious about it, but becoming aware of it and its implication and consequences for your interpersonal relationship, you need to curb it. You need to amend, and you need to sort of give way for the love of God to help you in your interpersonal relationship and loving others. And so we have seen that pride is that kind of feelings. Pride is such when you overprice yourself. And that's what it can simply mean. It's such an attitude that generates a different kind of mindset without knowing. Now, you may be unaware it's pride. For example, that feeling of above everyone in a gathering, it's such a feeling that will surely show itself. It's what is coming out of you. Again, when you are conscious of achievements, that feeling secured by your success, it becomes a kind of a pride that you may not be aware of. And so when you are conscious of some of these things, you are able to amend your attitude. You are able to have a kind of a mindset that breeds love to people around you. So pride is a pitfall of many leaders, and it's one character which God opposes. James chapter 4, verse 7 tells us that God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So we find out that when you are conscious of your God and His grace upon your life, you amend and you are conscious of your attitude before other men and before God. And so that is why awareness of this dark side is so important, that you take note of it. And pride is one of those dark side of any personality who is careless about his attitudes towards men, towards organization, towards his employees or his other colleagues. Now, I consider that this dark side, because there are many negative consequences to the one who is not aware of his or her dark side. The instance of unawareness of dark side is that, sometimes when you have this unawareness, we tend to describe our natural behaviors in a different term, but actually it's pride. you know for example, you may say that you're a private person. You may say, oh, I'm a quiet person, or I'm antisocial, and you tend to project that, it's humility. At times it may not be the way you describe it. It may actually be a pride. It may be a pride. Being quiet doesn't mean that you're humble. So you need to be aware of it. You need to be sensitive to some of this description of your natural self. If you cannot, for example, again, if you cannot lend your personality to a good cause, you have to question yourself. Why is it that you cannot lend your personality to a good cause? You may say you are a private person, but it can be an example of pride that you are not aware of. So, pride as a dark side, it's a sort of obtrusive behavior known to those on your 4 points of influence. When I mean obtrusive, that means, it's quite visible, but you may not know. To those who are on your 4 points of your influence, the 4 points of influence that I describe is like a shape of a cross. It's like a shape of a cross. Now, let me give you that. This is vertically and also horizontally. Those who are affected by your pride. Now, for example, vertically, it's God. And I've mentioned earlier that God is opposed to the proud. At the bottom are those who are following you, your followers, your employees, and they see that aspect of you, that you are a proud individual, that pride has gotten a grip of you. Then horizontally, you look at your peers, your colleagues. They have a sense of you. You look in your marriage at the same time. There is pride in your marriage. So that's what I meant, that vertically and horizontally, these are the 4 points of influence that you have. And your pride will certainly harm those 4 points, and it can be very destructive. So if you remain ignorant of this dark side, it becomes very lethal to your relationships, to your effective leadership. That is what it does. It reveals how pride manifests in disguise, and it blinds you. Pride can blind you, either you're in corporate or in faith organization, to the extent that you overprice your self-worth. You overprice your self-worth. That's what pride does. When you are ignorant of it, you overprice your self-worth, and then you take glory for every success. especially success of your establishment, the consequences is that you demean the efforts of others in your organization or others around you. Even you demean or you value less the grace that has been granted to you. That's the impact if you are not aware of this dark side. Because we've found out that success can change the tone of the man you used to be. Success can change your tone. It changes tone of the man that you used to be if you are unaware, unabatedly of this dark side. So we need to become conscious of this because when pride starts to destroy our relationship unabated, then where are we going? What impact can we make in this life? How can we express the love of God? And that's why we need to become aware of this dark side, if it's it. So we need to be conscious of it because we have seen, like I mentioned earlier, success can change your tone. When I mean your tone, the way you speak, what comes out of you, in fact, your opinion becomes diluted because of the success. And you see that what comes out of you, your views becomes very strange. And a behavior like this that is unchecked, you become estranged with your friends and colleagues. So becoming aware of this dark side, which is pride, will help you a lot. Now, look at the example of those who were not aware of this pride as a dark side. Look at a case in Daniel chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar, for example. Sorry about that. Nebuchadnezzar was one of those biblical kings with this kind of dark side. And we can see in that account that, Nebuchadnezzar's tone of voice, exhibits pride. And he overinflated his glory when he said to himself, "Is this not Babylon the Great that I have built by my vast power to be a royal residence and to display my majestic glory?" And that angered God. It's recorded in that book of Daniel that instantly God took away the kingdom from him. This shall not be your portion. And I'm saying, pride is a dark side. When you become aware of it, you take charge of yourself. You are in control of your emotions. You are in control of what you say before people, and you will not overinflate your ego or your self-worth. I want to refer to one of my favorite books on spiritual leadership from Henry and Richard Blackaby. They noted that pride is an offensive trait in secular leaders, but it is more repugnant in spiritual leaders. That is a repulsive behavior in spiritual leaders. Henry and Richard Blackaby continues, and they said, pride causes Christian leaders to take the credit not only for what their people have done, but also for what God has accomplished in their midst. And this is the work of Richard Blackaby. It's what has been observed. It's unawareness of pride that sets in among Christian leaders, not all, some Christian leaders. And so you find out that they take the glory for what their people have done to get them to where they are, and subconsciously they also take the glory and the praise away from God who has helped to accomplish all that they have, just as we have seen. And so this is very, important that we take note of this, that awareness of this dark side of a leader, the awareness will rescue a whole lot of damage. It will bring a sort of a rebuilding. When you become aware of a pride of this dark side, you'll be able to rebuild the moral support of your people, and you're able to build in a trust again. But without being aware of this, it's like I said last week as well, it's like an explosive waiting to detonate. And so we need to become aware of our dark side. And today we're talking about pride. It's a dark side. A dark side is that aspect of personality that is destructive, that creates ill feelings, and makes people to be uncomfortable wherever that such personality is present. So today we are looking at this subject of dark side, the trait being the attitude of being proud. So we're saying that let us become aware of our disposition, appearance, and the way we carry ourselves that makes people to be uncomfortable. And again, we become aware of such inability that we think that it's an inability, but actually it's an overestimation of who we are. Another one that I would like to refer to, one of the implications of a dark side of a leader being pride, is what Causes and Posner, the author of Encouraging the Art. They explain the reasons why employees leave their companies is that their leaders do not acknowledge nor give recognition for their efforts. And this is a case of whereby a leader takes all the praise unto himself. And that is why those who are working with him or after him do not get recognized. So some employees will quietly and angrily resign their jobs, resign their voluntary services for the lack of recognition, because the leader, the one at the head of their affairs, is so proud and he does not recognize other contributors. So it is pride when, as a leader, you feel insecure to recognize other gifts. You feel insecure to recognize the minimal contributors to the success of the organization, because you want to amass all the praise to yourself. That is noted as a pride. In some other, discussion, they say it's a spirit of pride. Well, it could be a spirit of pride, what manifests through the body, the physical body. It's a spirit manifest like that. So, but I'm talking about pride that can happen to any leader, both in corporation and in faith organizations. It's no good, it does not help. When you take all the praise to yourself, then you become an island. Let's look at another example biblically. Is the story in Genesis chapter 14. The story in Genesis chapter 14, we all know if you're a Christian or if you're a believer or not, but I will just tell you the story. Abraham went to the war of kings, and I saw there that as he returned from this war, he successfully, with a lot of goodies, bountifulness, abundance of things. He returned from the war of kings and he met with, we know the story, with Melchizedek, and then, of course, who came to him and they had a covenant with him with bread and wine, and he gave him a tenth of all. Then the king of Sodom came to him and said, no, look, to give him the men. He said to Abraham, give me the men and you take all the bounties or the booties of the war to yourself. But I saw that Abraham refused to have it because he has sworn to his God he will not take all these things unto himself. Even to the bit of the sandals, he will not have it. But he said one thing. He said he refused this man except for what his men will take. That means Abraham displayed a kind of a leadership that is selfless. He said, except for what his men will take. Genesis chapter 14, around verse 20 to 21. And so that is an example of humility. That's an example of a leader who do not want to take all the praises to himself or all the goodies to himself. He said, no, I will not take this except what his men will have. So, in other words, Abraham recognized his men and the effort of his men at war. He did not take the glory of the war victory to himself. He recognized his God and, of course, acknowledged the effort of his men. And that is what a simple leader will surely manifest when there is no iota of pride in him. He recognized other efforts. However, it has been said that some spiritual leaders attributed the success of the church to their enormous prayer and fasting without taking account of other associates and lay leaders. That is the exhibition of pride. So, pride is a dark side when it generates ill feelings, when it creates an atmosphere that makes people unrecognized, uncomfortable, or makes people to be unimportant. And I'm just bringing this out for us to rethink. If you are in that space, if you have experienced that, you may be doing well as a leader. Praise the name of the Lord. But we are saying in this time that we need to be aware of whatever is a dark side. And I've come to say tonight that overestimation of your self-worth, it's a form of pride. And this needs to be dealt with. You need to have the consciousness of that and begin to amend your ways in your interpersonal relationship. It does not promote relationship. Now, lastly, as I do my own study, pride can be a reaction. Pride can be a reaction. Why did I say that? I've often seen people at the hem of power, just like Abraham Lincoln said. He said, every man can stand in the days of adversity, but give a man a power or power, you will get to know his character. Let me paraphrase that way. So sometimes, pride can be a reaction that you are not aware that it is pride. I often describe pride as an excessive overestimation of self. So it comes in individual as a form of reaction to their former experience, to their former situations of life. Some have gone through much of oppression. Some have been afflicted and injured. Some lack endorsement. And when God starts to help, when grace starts to manifest, we find out that such individual becomes proud because of some achievement, and their pride is as a reaction to what they have gone through or with whom they have had some experience. And so you find out that the fact that some have let you down in the past, and now you are having your way, you are having breakthrough, and you do not check it, your reaction to them becomes a form of pride. And that is what I have studied and observed even among politicians. Politicians use power to deal with their oppositions or with those who have opposed them in the past, and it becomes a sort of pride for them. They ended up being a narcissist. But in this case, we're saying pride can be a reaction, and you need to check your reaction. Rather, respond positively with love with those who have in the past disappointed you. So you need to be aware of this, that a dark side includes a pride, and your pride can be as a result of your reaction to your past bad experience. It can be a reaction because of the lack of endorsement or lack of recognition that you have suffered. And now that things may be in your hand, you've gained power, you've gained prominence, pride can set in. So, this is an awareness that I'm trying to create here, because the best is yet to come for you. And I want you to sustain the best. I want you to sustain, that top where you are right now. So, in closing, awareness of this dark side, which is pride, will help you to turn your mind to give glory to your God and to acknowledge and recognize the grace you have been given for all accomplishment. And don't let your accomplishment become your source of security. No, acknowledge grace. Therefore, pride will not be part of you. You are simply giving the glory to the one who gives you the grace of where you are. And this is what I've got to share with you today. And I hope that in this series of awareness of the dark side, you have been able to pick up few things that you may need to correct. I've mentioned from the beginning the traits of dark side when you exhibit narcissism, bullying, you exhibit a sort of a passive aggression, a sense of entitlement, and arrogance. These are dark side, abusive, and you're so much of your energy that causes good thing or moves people towards achieving goals. The same energy can be disruptive. So you need to learn to manage it when it's becoming a dark side. Finally, I mentioned last week that when a dark side becomes a secret, it's no good. It's going to end in shame, in a sort of reducing from grace to grass. That is not what we pray for. And that's why I'm saying becoming aware of your dark side. So that is much I want to say. By the grace of God, we're going to now move into how do we get help to control and to get rid of that dark side. How do we get help? What are those processes that we need to seek? What are those assistance, help that we need to seek? And that is what I will be studying and will be sharing with you. So finally, I want to remind you of our upcoming leadership and ministerial program. I want you to join us. So go. All the information are there. Shekinah institute.org. you get all the information there and partake in this course, you'll be glad. And God will surely bless you. Prepare yourself for the greater height. Like I said, one of my recent words, I said, if you don't know what the future is, you can prepare for it. That is the wisdom that God has asked me to give you. If you don't know what the future is, and you have every means, you can prepare for the future. God bless you. This has been Abi Adenigba, Shekinah Institute, right here in Johannesburg. I'll see you next time. Thank you. God bless.